Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with me, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is actor, singer, and impressionist Kristina Bianco. Join me now as I go on the aisle for a conversation with Kristina.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome, Kristina. I'm so delighted. I thought I had lost you forever.
No. I'm very happy to be here.
And for our listeners, you are coming to us from London, England, in a Zoom call. Isn't that cool? Technology. It's so wild, isn't it?
No, you could be Zooming with someone around the corner or halfway across the
I
world.
know,
It's
and hopefully the audio sounds great. And, unfortunately, this isn't... people aren't seeing this, they're hearing it, but, I'm glad that you reached out and that I stopped you from having to go glam for this interview.
I know. I asked because very often I do find it so funny, the assumption when people say, oh yeah, come and do a podcast or come and do a radio interview. And, I have a lot of I'm a busy person. I have a lot of things to do, and some of it is not glamorous. Not all of it is running around in full makeup doing shows and press events. A lot of it is, particularly with time differences, with the US or Australia or whatnot. I mean, I could be just getting up in the morning, having walked my dog and coming back to make myself a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I turn it on and they're like, great, we're going to use some of this video and then post it all over Twitter or X or then put clips on YouTube. And I'm like, I was not told or informed that there'd be video. Thank you. I mean, I don't look horrendous or anything, but the surroundings are not particularly glam today. We've had a little bit of a leak, so I'm in a bit of a closet room right now for you. It is normally beautiful and sleek, and where I do self-tapes, now you've got a lot of boxes around me. Yeah. That's real life, kids.
I just saw an interview with a celebrity, and she said, I only do makeup when I'm paid to do it. So,
I'm a little better than that, but but sometimes we don't expect it. It's a joy. When you're in long running shows, sometimes you have to wear quite crazy, intense, heavy makeup. So makeup-free days for a lot of us are just a joy. So this is light and natural.
I want to hear, catch me up on the last time. I can't remember the last time I spoke with you.
I think it was in the COVIDian days that we dare not bring up again. Believe it was that time.
And
I was planning this move.
You had just come off a run playing in a production of Funny Girl, right?
Yeah.
Talking about that, and it was a huge success. Yeah, we did. We talked during the COVID years, during the pandemic.
It's true, and it's very funny because that dark time, you look for the good in all things, even though it seems impossible very often. But that time led to some really wonderful things ultimately for me. Having that time after doing, I did Funny Girl, a big production that was mostly a British creative team, big West End director, choreographer Stephen Mear, bringing it to Paris with, for your listeners who care, Jean-Luc Chopin in Paris, who was the reason American in Paris exists as a musical was him. So these really big people did this big production of Funny Girl that I thought I was just going to be lucky to do for about 3 months in Paris, and it got such great acclaim and praise. It was extended and led to so many doors opening for me. In New York, people were calling me being like, this is great, let's plan something. Where have you been? I'm like, I've been here, but okay, fine. And then to be going to Paris for them to notice. And then and a lot of work abroad. And I was already contracted to do a production. I'm sure we discussed this during that last interview we had, but I was already signed up to do a production of Little Voice that was going to be a big UK tour. So I knew that I was spending more time abroad. I kept getting more phone calls and opportunities. And I thought, my goodness, everything that's happening over the past few years has led me away from not just New York, but the States. I was doing so much traveling to Australia and Paris and Scotland and all these other places. And I thought, my goodness, I don't want to be away from my family so much. I don't want to be away from my husband and my dog. And they didn't want it either. And my husband finally said, you know what, let's not wonder what if. Let's think about getting you that visa, and I'll move over there, and we'll see what happens. We'll discuss this, when you're back from Paris. And then we had an entire pandemic to plan.
Sure.
A big move abroad, get the visa secured, do everything properly, get all the paperwork to get our dog abroad, having that gift of time. And also that gift, again, amidst that terrible experience that we all went through, my husband and I had not spent that much time together in our little apartment in New York in ages. I was always flying around and doing something, and we loved being together. We loved that time, and it brought us closer together. And so we said, no, we've got to do this.
And why London?
Why London? Well, London is the New York of Europe, and I'm a New Yorker. I'm a city girl, and I love London, and London has presented me over the past now over 10 years with wonderful opportunities. I never expect in this business, you can never expect work to keep coming. I never expected anyone to roll out the red carpet for me, but the opportunities I was getting, just the inquiries or the readings or the auditions were so great that I thought this is the right thing to do for now. If it doesn't work out, then we'll just come back home. We can't say we didn't try. We'll never wonder what if.
Let me ask you
Since
this.
moving,
Are you getting any gigs in the U.S.?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't been trying to.
Okay, well,
because
that's not uncommon for people
I've been fostering
London
this
to work in the U.S.
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
the
really
funny thing is,
matter.
I'm
These days, it
no.
really doesn't matter where you're based with
Yeah.
airplanes and technology being what it is. You can
Yeah,
be
I mean,
international.
my agents also, work abroad, and so, I'm connected in New York should I want to go in for New York things. But the whole point of my coming here was to actually focus on European, mostly West End work, and see what came of it. And so far, so good. The
So
ball is rolling.
you don't worry about New York and the U.S. and out of sight, out of mind, because you're getting plenty of work over there.
Do you know what? It's a really funny way to put it. You're not the first person to say it like that. In my mind, work is work. And being respected and working in this business consistently has always been my goal. And
Yeah.
as long as I was doing it in wonderful places where I wanted to do it. And the difference between Broadway and West End is very small. It's just what you prefer. I mean, New Yorkers are always going to think Broadway is the best of the best, and a lot of people in England are going to think West End is the best. But both respect each other greatly. And the funny thing is, my next project, which I'm sure you'll ask me about later as we go through my timeline here, but my next upcoming project is a show that was kicking around in the States for a little bit that's now going to have a big UK tour, and it's with Des McAnuff, who's just hired me to do the job. So I'm working with the New York Broadway people, I just happen to be doing it here in London.
Okay.
And so, like I said, sometimes it takes you being out of sight and maybe out of mind a little bit for them to hear about you doing something great abroad and going, oh yeah, her. Well, we should do that with her over there.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better opportunities by being
Well,
out of sight.
I've come to realize, as you said earlier, that there's a lot of interchange between New York and the West End, Broadway and the West End. Shows are previewed there and they're previewed in New York and they end up in each
Yeah.
market, So it's very,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do, and forgive, I'm not going to speak out of my, really area of expertise here, but I do talk with a lot of producers and writers and people on the creative side of things. And it is, as we all know, it's nearly impossible to cultivate and build anything new from scratch in New York. You're always doing it outside of New York. You're doing it in regional theaters or reputable theaters that are known to be a natural, path to New York or Broadway, like the great houses like Goodspeed and La Jolla and there's so many places that give you those opportunities, but they're
And now
specific venues. Exactly.
Chicago is a big market for previewing stuff. It goes to
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are so many places in the States that have that. But in the States, you have to fly to a lot of those places.
You
You have to
know,
drive, I was
recently
gonna go
I've
ahead.
had two guests. You may have heard of Michael Lamon. He has
Hmm.
Operation Mincemeat here, which originated
Yeah,
in Britain on the West
I
End.
love Operation
And I have
Mincemeat.
another friend. I just interviewed the music director of a new musical called Joe, based on the Little
Yeah,
Women.
I'm seeing
They're
that in a couple of days.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's the Daniel Redfield, the composer, talked to me on this recording, and Brian Purcell, one of the lead producers, also reached
yeah,
out to me, so on and so forth. So
yeah.
I've had the opportunity to discuss all of this, with those folks coming from
So yeah,
their
so you'll
perspective.
know then, you'll
Yeah.
know where I was going with that was that you have to go far outside of New York, flights, different states to make those things happen, to cultivate something. Whereas in the UK, because it is smaller, a lot of these places are just a train ride away or a car ride away.
Uh-huh.
And so and also West End and off West End, there's less of a division between it than Broadway and off Broadway. Some of the
Christina,
greatest work in London. Oh, sorry.
have you by any chance have you crossed paths with Will Nunziata, New
Of
York
course
based
I have. I know the
videographer?
Nunziatas.
He's
Of
been
course.
on
Will and
this
Anthony, yeah.
show too. He and his
Oh, yeah.
brother. Yeah,
Well,
well, you all
again,
know
so
each other.
I'm going to keep babbling about this because I've been trying to, I'm so Italian, I won't forget. I'm going to try to get to my point. My point was just that, and it leads to Will and Anthony, is that not only can you do theater outside of London that comes to London easily, within London, there are theaters that are just as reputable as West End, like the National Theatre and the Barbican and all the Menier Chocolate Factory, all these theaters that have shows that are equally as successful as West End shows. Sometimes they'll also go to the West End to extend their run, but they get these great reviews and acclaim, and there's no, oh, if only it was a Broadway show. Also, Joe, the concert you're talking about, and the one of the first presentations of Nunziata's musical were at Will's was at, or Anthony's was at was it the
It's based
Palladium?
on
The
an opera.
Palladium. Yeah, the Palladium. And Joe is at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, famous West End theatre. Both Andrew Lloyd Webber owned theatres. So when is the last time you heard of a concert of a new musical being performed one on the dark night of a show of a theater on Broadway? Never. It doesn't happen.
Yes.
But here it's financially feasible, probably very
Oh,
expensive, but it's financially feasible to do it. So it's amazing how new work in the UK is not only easier to do, but the exposure it gets is much more profound because you're going right
interesting.
to the belly of the beast. That's why I was babbling so long, but that's why I think a lot of people from the States are coming abroad with their new
Yeah.
works because they're like,
What do
wait a
you
minute, I could
think?
have much more eyes on it.
Just generally compare West End audiences to Broadway audiences, if you can.
I find that, and again, this is a generalization because audiences are different every night. We know this.
Of
I
course.
find that a lot of American audiences, because ticket prices are so expensive in part, tend to lean back when they watch a show. Not in a negative way, but they kind of lean back, like, all right, entertain me. And I find that a lot of British or European audiences tend to kind of lean forward. And I
Oh,
think they want to be in it a little more like they're keen to be in on this thing with you, as opposed to you're performing it for them. I'm making it sound negative. Both give
no,
lovely
I get it.
responses, but there's just an energy difference where it's
Well,
I'm coming
there,
to the theater and you are going to entertain me.
Americas can be a little judgmental anyway,
I
especially
think
when
there's
they,
so much, and I think there's just so much choice in America. I think America's so
sure.
big, and the people that come to West End may have been, oh, we're coming from way up in Leeds or Manchester, and we've taken a train in. We're gonna see a bunch of shows. We're gonna spend the night in London and go back in the morning. That's doable, or they can go back the same day. They can come see a
Yeah.
matinee and go home that night. In think about people that travel to come see a Broadway show. A lot of the people from, not I'm talking all over the world, but within America, they gotta fly there. They can't just take a train
Well,
there. It's so I think
well,
the level of expectation is greater because the whole journey to get there is greater. Again,
well,
the
no,
size of America is its blessing and its curse.
yeah, I would know because I regularly go to New York from Indianapolis, and it is
Yeah.
I pay a pretty penny for a transportation hotel. It's not
Yeah.
cheap.
It's
No, not at
crazy. Sorry, I
all.
raised my microphone.
Yeah, so but
Yeah.
fortunately for the Broadway tours that come through here, we get to see work, albeit, maybe 3 or 4, whatever years old, but whatever. I'm seeing MJ is coming through here Tuesday night,
Oh,
and that's been off
well,
off Broadway for a while anyway.
yeah,
So,
I've loved that when I saw it on Broadway, and I also saw it here in the West End. I think it's absolutely
oh,
terrifically
good.
executed, fully well-rounded, beautiful,
Well,
beautiful musical.
okay, so I'm going to be transparent. One of the reasons I wanted you on my shows is I wanted my listeners to hear some of your impressions, and I know you got plenty.
Oh,
But let's talk about for those who've never heard of you or don't know of you, you can listen to this and you can go online at the same time and see Christina, find her on Wikipedia, her website, and see that she's the queen of Forbidden Broadway, which
no,
is
not the Queen.
the
What
Broadway
one of a
musical.
very lucky group of people that's
So
well that got some acclaim
talk
for it.
about your history with Forbidden Broadway.
Sure. Oh my
Is it
goodness.
fair
So
to say that you became known because of your work on that show as an
to be
impressionist?
honest, it opened doors for me, but I would say that I became known for doing impressions on a global level because of, oh, I can't criticize it now. I have to be grateful. I can't say stupid, but I can say the very random success I had on YouTube videos. But I wouldn't have posted those YouTube videos or done anything with impressions had it not been for Forbidden Broadway giving me the platform to do so some years prior. So that's what I would say. My life changed when those videos went viral. But again, I wouldn't have done that at all had it not been for Forbidden
Was that
Broadway.
intentional on your part? Was it a strategy
No,
thing? Really?
absolutely not. Are you kidding me? There's nothing about me that has ever
That was
been
the early days then,
savvy.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking YouTube. Do you remember that?
Yes,
The
of
ancient
course.
viewing apparatus of YouTube, I say. It's so funny because I'll try to give the quick version, everybody, and it's hard for this Italian girl to do so, but I will try. To get back to Forbidden Broadway, history, obsessed with it. I came out of the womb listening to those cast albums. Forbidden Broadway, for anyone that doesn't know, lovingly pokes fun at all of the Broadway shows and their stars. Typically, two male and female identifying actors would play essentially every role on Broadway, past and present, sometimes impersonating the great Broadway stars such as Bernadette Peters, Idina Menzel, Barbara Streisand, and more, and spoofing sort of the evergreen shows. So what was currently on Broadway, but also timeless things like Cats and Les Mis and things that everybody would understand. So for every Broadway season, they had a new edition of the show to mimic and parody that season. So many cast albums, 20 something cast albums. I knew them all, and I would essentially sing along impersonating the impersonators, the impressionists. But I never thought anything of it. I never thought, oh, I'm good at this and I'll make a career out of doing impressions. But I was doing it from a young age. I always had a natural ear for mimicry. And I remember in school when they'd say, we need someone to like do a voice of a little kid. I'd be like, I could do that. I could do a little kid for you. Yeah, I could do a little kid. And then they'd say, oh, we need someone to be the old lady. I'd be like, oh, I can do it, old lady. Sure, I'll do that. And can you do a Southern accent? Yeah, no problem. I can do that. So I would just always had an ear for it. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll get to do some voiceover work one day. I was always thinking about it in like a business career way. And the only people I really heard do impressions, and particularly singing impressions, other than a Forbidden Broadway soundtrack, were like two people in Las Vegas, like Danny Gans, but mostly it was stand-up comedians doing speaking impressions. So I never thought I'd use it in any profound way in my life. But when I was finally, the right age, realized my time was now. I was like, oh, they're having general auditions from, I read about it in Backstage magazine, for Forbidden Broadway. And it said, potential future casting. It was a required call. They weren't even looking for anybody. The show had been running 20 something years. The odds of them picking somebody from an open call and putting them into the New York company were very slim. But like about hundreds of other people, I got my equity card and got online and got my time slot early in a cold morning in New York. Got my slot, went back home, got ready, warmed up, and went in. And I prepared, I'll never forget what I prepared. I sang Gorgeous from the Apple Tree, which showed range, hopefully comedy, and, a little personality. And then they said, do you do any impressions? And I was like, oh, yes, of course, with confidence I absolutely didn't have. And they said, well, what do you like to do? I said, oh, I'd like to do Bernadette Peters. And I just did her singing Joanna the way she did on, I could have done a Forbidden Broadway number, but I thought, no, just do Bernadette Peters doing Bernadette Peters. So I had her singing, I feel you, Joanna, I feel you. And they were cracking up right away. And I said, do you do anybody else? And I said,
yeah, I do. I do Kristin Chenoweth. And actually, I'm the same height as her. I find it very, very annoying. Thank you very much. But I hit my high operatic notes and do all that. So I did Popular, I'm ever so popular. And they loved that. I said, I can also do a bit of Idina Menzel. So I did a few just a cappella like that. And I got a call back. And I said this would be the short version, but I wanted to get some impressions in there for you. Cut to the chase. They weren't going to put anybody from those open calls into the New York production, but they did. They decided to give me my first tryout in the show in New York. So within I was the only new one in it, with people that had done the show for like 10 years around me, guiding me, but very supportive and very kind. Thank goodness. And then within a few months, I was, reviewed in the New York Times as this great impressionist, and everybody asked me to do impressions all over town. One of those places was the Friars Club, which is now sadly gone, and the big comedy members club. And my very first time doing what I dubbed a diva mashup, but it has a million names. You take one popular song and you sing it as a bunch of people. This is eventually what I got popular for doing on YouTube. Plenty of people have done it. The great Christine Petty from Forbidden Broadway, one of my idols, who I then got to work with in musical. I'd seen her do it, and I thought I could do something like that. But the first person I ever heard do anything like that was Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. would always take one popular song and sing it in the voices of his contemporaries or his fellow Rat Pack members. And I thought, wow, that was so great how he could do a whole concert in his own voice, but then throw all these voices in. So I just took that song, sang it in a bunch of voices. That clip is on YouTube. I don't think I'm particularly great doing it, but it got, I remember something very quickly over 100,000 views, which is nothing in general. But for me, I was expecting 10, So I was shocked. And it led to people saying, oh, you should post more, you should do more. And I thought, oh, people are surprised by this. They haven't seen this. I have, but I guess they don't know this. So I started posting more and more, started doing more performances in New York, my own solo shows, my own concerts, eventually leading to my getting an opportunity to perform an audition for Jack Everly, and it was the Indianapolis Symphony, and it led to me performing, or many years of my performing with them, using my own voice and impressions within those concerts, and then eventually to Jack creating a beautiful concert just for me, doing
And
those
that
things.
is how you and I met, because I
Yeah.
you when you were performing with the symphony orchestra, and it may have been a couple times. And for those who may have missed that interview, they can find it at tomalvarez.studio, where I still have a column. But now that I have this podcast, I do mostly the long interviews, on the
Yeah.
show, rather than, it's a lot of work to do an interview. I try to get it right, and I remember the one with you. It's just so much fun.
Thank you.
But then again, people couldn't hear the impressions, right?
No, it's different because,
Yeah,
obviously you can't really get it all in
it's
print.
great.
But
Well, so
yeah,
how
but
do we, how
it's
can
amazing.
how can we, what can we do? Can you do an a cappella like medley of some of the ladies? And
Um,
because you'll never run out, but could you give the audience like a little medley of something, or we could do
Sure.
a
Well,
couple of them, whatever you think.
I've just said the sun will come out tomorrow. So let me, and again, it's actually really hard to do it with a headphone on. So I'm gonna have to take one ear off here.
Okay.
I'm doing this at random. One of my first influences ever was Judy Garland, and I always start with Judy because she's lower, so it's a little bit easier. What's a good key? The sun will come out tomorrow. That sounds pretty good. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. I don't know. We could do I guess Liza Minnelli, Liza, my daughter Liza, just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow, Tom, it's so awful, till there's none. I don't know who I should be right now. Maybe I should be, Bernadette. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh. Maybe
You mentioned
Celine Dion?
Idina.
Yes.
You mentioned
The
Idina.
sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come with me.
Why
Maybe
did I call
Streisand?
out a few of them? Celine Dion.
Maybe Barbara Streisand now.
Of both of them.
Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're only a day away. I can't leave out Julie Andrews. Tomorrow, tomorrow, we'll love you tomorrow. Kristin Chenoweth.
It's only a day away. Okay, that was a little bit weird, but there you go.
So tell me this. You said that it just came to you naturally, but what is your process? I mean, to mimic as you do, it's astonishing.
So
I
some
don't want to give
impressions.
you away your trade secrets, but
No, 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 no. It's impossible to really do so. Some impressions come more easily than others. Some, like a Bernadette Peters, I can find a funny little placement. It's nothing like my own voice, but I can find a placement.
Same thing for Kristin Chenoweth. I just play around.
Usually it involves me recording them, like listening to a recording of them, recording myself doing it, giving some time away from it, listening to it back. Because sometimes I feel like I'm doing it right, but if I listen, I go, oh no, actually, you're pitching it in this really high place where it feels right, but her voice really isn't that high. Like Edith Piaf. Everybody impersonates Edith Piaf by like holding their nose and going like, nah, but she's not really nasal. She's in the back of her throat. It's more, nah, it's back there. So you have to find, like, when you hear it, it's not always the way it feels.
yeah.
And then any good impressionist, in my estimation, has to find a way to keep it entertaining without being mean. So you want to exaggerate the right things. You want to pull and stretch the bits that make them unique. Idina Menzel always sort of says something and falls off of her voice like that. And when she's singing, she's, yeah, because it's really kind of weird nasal tone. And she sings and then she throws it off. Like, there are little things. So if I was to do a number as her, I do that one too many times, once more than she normally would, because you want to push the things that make them the unique stars they are. Patti LuPone is known for being inarticulate, except for a few random consonants at the ends of phrases.
Oh, give
So
me
I don't
some
know what I
Patty.
would.
Give me some Patty.
What's a good
Gotta
Patti
get
LuPone for
Patty.
you? Patti would sing.
How about
I'm trying to think. Okay, so if she was singing from Sunset Boulevard,
oh yes.
she'd be like, that wasn't my best Patty, but she would say if the word was ending, she'd go and there's always a random consonant, like guttural consonant N or G or T at the end of something thrown in. And so I would exaggerate that with love. I think that the key is to make sure you're doing it from a place of love. Otherwise, it's only funny for, let's say, a comedy sketch for 2 minutes on a
Okay,
television
so
show.
have you heard any of the ladies giving you feedback? Have they seen you?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Yeah, I do a lot of speaking impressions of as well. And I remember Kathy Griffin, the comedian Kathy Griffin. I did something as her on YouTube, one of my many videos using some wigs being silly. And she was like, perfect, terrific, it was amazing. Oh my God, I love it so much. Like, you know, in the back of her throat. She loved it. She publicly said so on social media. My favorite story, and I may have told this story before when I've spoken to you, because it's my favorite one to tell, is I was singing at an event. Actually, but was a night before I was flying off to do my very first solo concert with Jack Everly in Canada, because I remember I couldn't stay and mingle and schmooze after the show like I wanted to with the celebrities. Included in that were Kristin Chenoweth. And I was asked to do an impression number. And at the very last minute, the producers of the event said, you know what, it's probably best if you don't include Kristin. We know she's been a fan publicly on social media, like liking your stuff, but maybe it's just safer to leave her out. I said, okay, no problem. Instead of doing Kristin Chenoweth, I then threw in Karen Walker from Will and Grace, because I wanted to do some sort of high voice. So I just kept the vocal placement in the song. Choosing which celebrities will sing or speak which line are very specific to me when in planning a song like that. It's like putting a piece of a puzzle together. So I had backup. Should I not be able to do Kristin, I was ready to go. So the number finished. She was just so lovely, clapping and just blowing kisses and so full of praise. And after the show, I bump into her. She came over to me and looked me in the eye, which she can do because we are the same height. And she said,
Hey, you didn't do me. Why didn't you do me? Next time you do me, you show all these people what we've got.
I said, oh, it wasn't my choice, but I love you for that. How sweet. She's been so kind and supportive of it. I think Bernadette Peters mentioned to me once. I mean, it's nice.
Yeah.
I hope they know imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Some people are never going to like it. I know Liza Minnelli doesn't like impressions of her. Again, though, many people do quite a cruel impression of her. Yeah, mostly because of her mother and people. She's just over it. She's just over the years of the parody. She celebrates the fact that everybody loves them and loves to do it, but she doesn't like to watch it. And I go, well, that's lovely. As long as you celebrate it, you know, and know it's coming from a good place.
She doesn't like impressions of her mother, but herself as well. She doesn't like those.
Yeah. I just think she sucks to stay.
What about, well, you know, all the drag queens pay tribute to all these ladies, and they
exactly, and that's why I know she's grateful.
That's lip sync mostly, right? So
yeah, mostly lip sync. Most drag queens lip sync. Not all. See, British drag queens really sing. So many British drag queens sing.
What are some? Can you do any speaking impressions of the British ladies that we all?
Of course, yeah, I have to.
Judith Dench and whatever.
I don't do Judi Dench. I don't do Judi Dench. I don't do a lot of. My voice doesn't do age well with impressions. Okay. I don't have a very raspy voice either, but I do a lot of people. I don't know if you'd know them. Do you know? Did you ever hear of or watch the TV show Absolutely Fabulous?
Oh, of course.
AbFab.
Yes,
so
the ladies,
yes, darling. Yes, sweetie darling. As Adina Monsoon, played by Jennifer Saunders.
Right, yes.
Of the famous comedy team Saunders and French. Sure. But in this case, it's with Joanna Lumley playing Patsy. Yes. Patsy. But I do Adina Monsoon, darling. And I was doing a performance recently saying, cheers, get me some bully for this. You know, after this chat, darling, we'll have some bully. You know, I'll wear some LaCroix, sweetie. And you can go to TK Maxx and get something to match me. TK Maxx in the UK, not TJ Maxx. And I also do, on that TV show, Bubble. Her assistant, Bubble, is the brilliant actor Jane Horrocks, who is the original LV in Little Voice. Jane is one of the greatest impressionists that ever lived. And to get to follow in her footsteps in that role was absolutely crazy.
But Jane's from the north and she talks like this. Particularly as Bubble. Hello. So it's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah.
When I do these voices in the UK, I started doing them when I was doing concerts here. I had my YouTube videos go viral. It led to performances on the Ellen DeGeneres show in the States with the equivalent here, the late, great Paul O'Grady, the Paul O'Grady show. This Morning, the equivalent of the Today Show in the States. A bunch of TV shows I got to be on here. And it, again, opened many doors for me. And on all of those shows, I had to do British impressions, of course, mostly British impressions. One of my favorites an actress or actor, however I like to call it, that you would look up her name and you go, oh yes, I have seen her. She's in a lot of Hollywood films as well. Her name is Catherine Parkinson, and she's my favorite to do. She's sort of got this covered, dulcet voice, dulcet tones to her voice, and she doesn't seem to stray very far from this general middle pitch. But then she goes up and down, and it's so funny. And then she gets angry, but it's always in this funny little covered place. And I realized I can impersonate her during COVID. Binge watching a TV show called The IT Crowd. It's a British TV show. And I just found myself repeating everything she was saying absolutely naturally, just came to me. Didn't have to work at it. I don't know where it came from, but I heard it and I went, oh goodness, no, I can't stop doing this. Oh no, no. I think my husband had to snap me out of it.
So I want to hear about Kristin Bianco, the British citizen. What's life like in Britain? Have you come? I mean, you've been there now for how long?
About 4 years now.
Okay, so tell me what life is like there. And
Well, coming from the hustle and bustle of New York City, I lived in a lovely studio apartment right downtown on Broadway, so a nice busy street. If I wanted to live in the equivalent of where I live now in London, which isn't particularly cheap or anything, no British real estate is cheap, but I would never be able to do it. I live in the equivalent of Brooklyn. I'm 15 minutes from London Bridge, which means I'm another 10 minutes from the Strand and the West End theaters and all that. So I'm 25 minutes away from Broadway essentially here. And I'm in a quiet, beautiful little village with parks for my dog and little local high street with all the little shops that you need. So I'm living my New York life, but I'm getting to live it feeling like I live in the film The Holiday or something. We chose to not be in some big apartment building. We chose to have something a little more quaint and different, just for just something different. I'm a New Yorker. I've lived there my whole life. I love it. I'm not trying to replace New York.
where did you grow up in New
Doing something
York?
different here was lovely.
Where
Well,
did you
my
grow?
parents were born and raised in the Bronx, so I spent a lot of time there. But I grew up in Rockland County area,
Okay.
and then I went right to NYU early
Okay.
decision at like 17. And then I never left. I mean, I went on a national tour, Dora the Explorer Live, right out of college, which I also got out of early because I knew what I wanted to do, and I double majored in journalism, and I've never used it,
Interesting.
but I'm happy to have the degree. And I just was really lucky. I got a job right out of school that was a high profile, great opportunities, taught me a lot about media and life on the road. But again, I've seen so much of America and did so much crazy traveling. And particularly my years leading up to moving here, I did so much traveling.
Can
What
you
I
tell me the
wanted was
name
something I'd never
of
had, which was this more homey, traditional suburban life. But here I get it adjacent to the city.
Tell me about your husband and what is his name and what does he do?
Sure. My husband is Billy Ernst, and I met him doing Dora the Explorer Live, although it took us many years to get together and get married. And I met him as an actor, which is why he can tolerate and support all of this madness that I'm throwing at you in the universe. But he went back to school and became a veterinary technician, so like a veterinary nurse, specializing in physiotherapy and hydrotherapy with animals, particularly dogs, and that is what he does here.
I
He has
love that.
his own business. He works a few places that hire him, like as an independent contractor, but he has his own business called Healthy Tales. It's the cutest Instagram to follow. So if you find me, you will find my
I
dog
would love that. How many
Jeff Vader.
animals do you guys have in your
We
home?
only have Jeff, our dog Jeff, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And he is now 16 years old. And I can tell you that this change of life from
He's a
I love New York,
senior.
but the streets of
Does
New
he
York
have
are
a
not as
does he have
kind
a
to
gray
him.
muzzle?
Well, yeah, he was gray about 6 months into us getting him. So he's always been a
Yeah.
gray dog, but now he's more white in the muzzle. But
Yeah,
yeah, his
and who
quality
are
of life
and
has improved here
okay,
immensely.
he's your furry child. You have children, you say. Then how
I
many?
don't have children. He's my only child. My
Okay.
fur baby. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, my husband has been so supportive. I don't know many couples that could endure my being away so much and then, traveling around. But he's the real reason that we moved here. He said, Christina, we want to be together more and I can do this somewhere else. Let's take a
Wonderful.
chance. And if we don't
So
like it, we come home.
how did the Brits take to Americans? Well, you're not just any American. You're Christina Bianco.
I think if you listen, I love it here. And I get on very well with, I should say, I understand like British culture and British humor and their work ethic. I mean, it's not very dissimilar to life in New York. So assimilating was not
And of
difficult. Also,
course, they're quite
I was working
familiar
here for
with
8 years before I
they're
moved here.
quite
So
familiar with our history, our culture, because
yeah,
we're connected, right? So
yeah,
they
I'd
know
say
everything American.
more Brits know what goes on in America than Americans know what's going
Yeah.
on
Well,
in
isn't
Britain.
that across the board, though? Americans
Yeah.
have such a narrow worldview,
Americans
period.
hardly know what's going on in the next state next to them. But no,
Correct.
that's because of what we're given. We're presented with, in our
Yeah,
local news, we're presented with local things or massive things. Why would, and I don't say this with any agenda. I just think, if people don't know what's
sure.
going on from New York to Pennsylvania,
Well,
how would they know what's going on in Zimbabwe? They just
You
wouldn't.
know,
So, yeah.
as a journalist, for instance, I get a lot of my news from BBC, and I'm
Yeah.
fascinated at their coverage of American life and American
Yeah.
politics and such. And it really gives me a great perspective of how we're viewed in other parts of the world, you
Do you
know.
know there were two shows that I did back to back working for this is me, I'm sounding famous now. I'm sounding like I'm puffing myself up, but I'm not.
Be
It's
my
just
guest.
my resume at this point. So I've been really lucky. I've done two shows back to back working for Andrew Lloyd Webber and Really Useful and this Michael Harrison Entertainment. And both of those shows bring in a lot of kids. There weren't children's shows, but I did The Wizard of Oz at the Palladium, and then I did the big production of Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat as the narrator. But I have to say narrator here, narrator, but the narrator. And so there were kids always coming to see Wizard of Oz, but I got to then spend time working with a lot of kids who were in the production of Joseph, and these kids have a view of the world and a comfortability talking about things that I don't think many people in America, many children in America would have. I can't tell you how funny it was when we had a rotating cast, three rotating casts of children in Joseph. And so it'd be a couple of weeks and they'd come back, hello, Christina, how are you? What have you been up to? I'd say, oh, I did this, did that. We were playing these cities. What did you do? Were you at school? No, I was on holiday. Oh, where did you go on holiday? Oh, we went to Mallorca. That was when everyone goes to Mallorca. Oh, we went to Istanbul. Oh yeah, well, my family has a home in it's like Prague. I mean, like
I love
they
that.
they just we always vacation there. My mother's brother lives
Well, they're much more
in like Tenerife.
sophisticated, aren't
It's
they?
hysterical. What'd you say?
Much more sophisticated.
Yeah, but can you think about it? Like most people in New York, they vacationed in Florida, they drove to Maine, maybe they went to like Jamaica or something. And here, these kids are like, oh yes, well, my uncle has a home in Provence, so I went there. It was boring, but I read a lot. You're laughing about, just their view of the world and
I
what they're
love
comfortable with is different. So yeah, and I think it applies to everybody here, whether they know it or not.
Yeah,
It's
hey, it looks
a
like
bit of
we're going to have to wrap up
awareness.
because I know you have limited time, and
Yeah,
so I want to know though, what's up next? What are you doing now? We didn't discuss that.
yeah.
What are you doing
Well,
now?
so I only finished. I did the big production of Joseph. That was it was almost a year long. I had a few months off, and I did my first British pantomime is really big here. The big Christmas shows that they do at Christmas time. Too interesting to tell you about right now. It'll be another chat. But I did a really big pantomime with a big celebrity cast, and it was just the best way to spend Christmas. And right before I started that job, I found out that I had booked the Ballad of Johnny and June. It's Des McAnuff is the director and also the co-writer. The show is built telling the story of Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash,
I love
told through
that.
the eyes of their son, and it's with the blessing and
And
sanctioning and help writing. And I'm
You're
playing June
playing.
Carter.
Oh
I am.
my!
I'm very, very lucky. I'm very grateful. I didn't really want to tour again, but I saw
And
this
what
come
is
up,
that
and I thought I
accent?
can't say
What is
no.
that accent you're going to be
Well, the
doing?
accent's going to be like this, isn't it? It's going to be,
Yeah.
it goes, but she when she plays Junie Carter, funny little Junie Carter, it's more, she puts it on. She was when she was young young, she put it on like, "Hi, y'all," But as she got older, it was
Is
still her
that
accent,
Georgia?
of course. But
Is that Georgia or where? Where is that? What is that?
no, to Tennessee,
Tennessee.
but she's and Virginia. I mean, her influences were mostly Tennessee,
Gotcha.
Virginia. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be really wonderful working with, Des McAnuff always works with Ron Melrose.
When does that open, Christina?
I start rehearsals 2 weeks from today, and we open first week of March, and the tour goes through the UK and Ireland through September.
Wow. Are you
Yeah.
doing any, are you so do you also do sort of outreach? Do you like to do master classes or coach or do anything like
I
that
do.
with
I used to do a
people?
lot more of it. I only stopped because I've been working so much, but I really do enjoy doing that. And I've been able to do some in different countries as well, like in France and in Switzerland and
Well,
all
what
that.
about all those young performers out there who want to do impressionists? Do you do anything specific for them?
I do, through certain, I'm trying to think of, they're going to kill me for forgetting them now, but through certain organizations, I can even do it over Zoom like this, like Broadway Plus and
Cool.
all that. So
Okay.
yeah, if you go to my website, which is easy, it's ChristinaBianco.com, that information will be
Yeah, okay,
there.
I was just going to ask
But
you
I'm
that.
over,
Where
yeah.
can people find you? And you so you
Yeah.
just give them the website. Are you on social media on all the
I'm
platforms?
all over social media.
Great.
I'd say I'm most active on Instagram these days. TikTok is sort of, I've got followers, but it's eluded me. I just can't get on board. So Instagram is as
So,
hip as I get. I'm
well,
ex
listen,
Tina
I
Bianco
would
one.
love, I hope that you find your way back to Indianapolis and that, well, of course, you better hurry because Jack is leaving after I think next year. He's
Yeah,
retiring.
I can't possibly imagine the Indianapolis Symphony without him. Him and Ty have been so good to me over the years, and I just absolutely love them both, and I love the
Well,
symphony. And
you're still a beloved figure here, and I do
oh,
hope
thank
that you
you.
make it back and through the
You
wonders
tell
of
him I've
Zoom.
always wanted to come. I've always wanted to come and do Yuletide. I've always wanted to do that.
Okay,
Because
well, they're
I've
they're gonna hear it here. They're
you
gonna
you
hear it.
push him.
Yeah, no, I definitely
Next Christmas I'm coming.
I review their concerts regularly, and the Yuletide, it just gets better and better if you can
I
imagine that. It's
know, I
just an
love it.
extraordinary production. Well, it's been a joy reconnecting with you, and I'll continue to follow your career, and good luck with the new productions, Break a Leg and all that. But in the meantime, my best to you in your career.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad that you've been so supportive for so many years. And yeah, hopefully I'll keep giving you things to want to interview me about.
Lovely. Well, we'll do a part two. I'll catch up with you in a few years so you can give us an update, okay?
Excellent. Thank you so
All
much, Tom.
right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official newsletter for 15 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community. Thank you for joining me on the aisle. Please subscribe to my podcast, and if you want to hear previous episodes, find them on the All Indiana Podcast Network, or listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. This is Tom Alvarez.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.